Sam Bankman-Fried, whose crypto exchange platform FTX filed for bankruptcy and recently collapsed, decided to grant Vox a tell-all interview where he was exchanging messages and DMs on Twitter and disclosing that he's a terrible person. So let's get right to it. First off, it's notable that he has absolutely no shame considering, the people who invested in crypto using his platform have lost, in some cases, their entire life savings. Looming over our whole conversation, writes Kelsey Piper over at Vox, was the fact that people who trusted him have lost their savings and that he's done incalculable damage to everything he proclaimed only a few weeks ago to care about. The grief and pain he has caused is immense, and I came away from our conversation appalled by much of what he said. But if these mistakes haunted him, he largely didn't show it. I would say because nothing seems to be haunting him. Now, let's go to some of his claims through this interview. One question on which I've seen widespread speculation is whether Bankman-Fried thought it was okay to do unethical things for the greater good, a position that hardcore utilitarians, which Bankman-Fried has identified as in the past, might hold. Now, back in the summer, when the same Vox reporter asked him about that, balancing ethics and trying to carry out good deeds for the community, he seemed to agree that there needed to be a clear red line, there needed to be some balance. He said this: there is some line. The answer can't be there is no line, or else, you would end up doing massively more damage than good, foreshadowing to say the least. He continues, and I think more generally, you could say, okay, fine, but just subtract that out. But I don't think it's that simple either, because there are a lot of complicated but important second order harms that come if your core business is bad for the world, in terms of your ability to work with partners and your ability to work with partners in your philanthropic efforts. Now, if that statement is confusing, I gotcha. What he tried to provide an example, and he talked about let's say a tobacco company, which of course is selling products that kill people and make them sick. That's the core of their business. But at the same time, if they're raising money or doing some good deed for the community, it doesn't really matter when you consider the harm that's being done by its core business. Now, the Vox reporter just recently had another conversation with him, and he has completely changed his tune. Here's what he has to say: those well-considered ideas about balancing ethical imperatives, it's not true, not really, he said now. No, he's shameless though. He's so he doesn't care. He's in the Bahamas. He thinks he's untouchable. He'll probably have to testify in a case against him and FTX. But I do want to also share the screenshot of the DMs that the DM exchange he had with this Vox reporter, where she asks, "You were really good at talking about ethics for someone who kind of saw it all as a game with winners and losers." And he responded with, "Yeah, hee, I had to be. It's what reputations are made of to some extent. I feel bad for those who get effed by it. By this dumb game we woke Westerners play, where we say all the right things, and so everyone else likes us. So everyone likes us." So this is who this guy is. He, very likely lost a lot of money for a lot of people who didn't know what they were getting themselves into. There's potential fraud here. And he also pretended to be a proponent of regulation, but now he's being honest that no, that was all an act. I think regulations are terrible. Bankman-Fried characterized his past conciliatory statements toward regulators like when he said just last month that some amount of crypto regulation would be definitively good, as little more than PR. In doing so, he all but confirmed the view of critics who have argued that his overtures to Washington were much more about image than substance. So he was all about the PR game, but anything that he said prior to the collapse of FTX seems to have been complete and utter lies, things that he didn't actually believe in. And then finally, I think this is the most important part, the accusation that FTX allowed for the other company that Bankman-Fried founded, known as Alameda, a hedge fund, basically allowed them to take depositor money from FTX and gamble with it. Bankman-Fried has maintained that FTX has never invested the deposits of crypto account holders on the exchange, while he continued to insist that FTX did not directly use account money in this way. He said that Alameda, which he also owns, had borrowed far more money from FTX's balance sheet for investments than he had realized, which ultimately left FTX vulnerable to the crypto equivalent of a bank run. Why didn't Bankman-Fried realize what was happening until it was too late? Sometimes life creeps up on you, he said.
Yeah.
But remember, there were people who looked into the books and realized that there was some foul play involved in FTX's finances. And so I just want to go to this one video, which features the head of Binance, who was able to look at the books, and here's what he had to say.
He wanted actually a buyout of the entire firm, of the entire FTX platform. And then, but then we got our team on it. It was pretty clear pretty soon that there's, there's misappropriation of user funds. The user funds are gone. And at that point, it's clearly that he lied to his users, his investors, his VC investors, his employees. At that point, I thought I couldn't, like whatever data that's in the data room, we couldn't trust anymore.
He seems to suggest in a lot of these tweets that he didn't understand, or he mismarked things. And when I say mismarked things, mislabeled things is what I think is the phrase that he's used. And yet, when you looked under the books, clearly it appears that he was demonstrably commingling funds, using the funds to leverage himself up and the like.
Yeah, I think, look, I didn't do the due diligence myself, but I think it will be very, very clear that Sam knows that he was using the user funds to do trading for Alameda. And he has been probably doing this for quite a while that nobody else knew.
Yeah, okay, first of all, that's CZ. He's a main competitor of Bankman-Fried. Don't trust him either, okay? Don't trust any of them. I'm gonna explain why in a second, okay? We're gonna show you how widespread it is. There's way more problems here than even what we've shown you so far. But first, I just want to make sure that everybody understands the scheme that Sam Bankman-Fried did. So he's got FTX, you guys are putting your money into FTX. And then he's got Alameda where he gambles. He's got a hedge fund, he's making investments. He's gonna keep the profits of this, right? So he can't take your money and put it into Alameda so that he can make his own money. That's wrong, that's illegal, right? But he says, no, I didn't take your money from FTX and put it into Alameda. I took your money from FTX and lent it to Alameda. And Alameda was gonna pay you back after I made all the money off of your money. No, that's still illegal. That's not a thing. Oh, technically I didn't give it to Alameda, I lent it to Alameda. Okay, great, then Alameda give it back. Oh, we don't have it, we lost it. That's the same exact thing. That's called a robbery, okay? So when you look at the exchange that he had with the Vox reporter, his lack of morals is shocking. Even in this field, he has no moral core at all. He doesn't care about the people he ripped off 1%. He talks about other executives at his company who are feeling ashamed, and he's like, I don't get it. I don't know why they're feeling ashamed. Because you guys cost people $8 billion. And he thinks, yeah, well, they're stupid to trust me, suckers, idiots. Right? Who would trust somebody in crypto? Who's that dumb, right? And so that seems to be his attitude all along. So how about you said, oh, you're giving to Democrats because you care about regulation. No, he's lying about it. I hate regulators. So you were doing it for PR? Yeah. All you were talking about ethics. Was it for PR? Yeah, of course. Who believes in ethics? Nobody believes in it. By the way, when he says no one in this industry believes in it, we're all doing it for reputation. That's the only thing that I believe him on. Of course. Yet before it blows, and now that it's blown up, our media is like, can you believe that? Before it blew up, everybody's like, oh no, what a revered figure. Look at him, oh, he cares so much about ethics. Let me print about all these propaganda articles about how ethical he is. Did you guys all retract that and say, sorry, we were morons, we got played by an obvious fraud? No, they still do the same thing for other powerful people. So, and then that line about the Westerners, what he's saying there, and you take it for however you want to take it, right? But he's saying people like CZ, the guy that was on there burying him on CNBC, he's like, look, man, they have a different attitude. They don't even bother caring about ethics. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he's representing, right? And he's like, whereas we in the West, if you see somebody that works in finance and crypto, et cetera, in the West, assume that we're obviously lying to you about caring about ethics. And guys, what are you doing in crypto? You're giving your hard-earned money, a lot of times your entire savings, to people who have no moral core and brag about it. Why would you do, like, the very last person you should trust with your money is a guy who thinks ethics is a joke. Of course he's gonna rob you, of course. But they're like, oh no, there's no regulations. Regulation is just another word for law. There's no laws to protect me. And no, the democracy won't help, the government won't help, nobody will help. And all of these guys are the most morally bankrupt people in the world. So why don't I just trust them with nothing to protect me? Insanity, insanity. I wanna read you two more quotes from the exchanges. In one text, he says, most exchanges did some varying on what we did, just not as big and without the run on the bank, at least recently and more intentionally. So is it possible that the other exchanges are doing the same exact kind of criminality as he did? Yes, it's enormously possible. So buyer beware. If you're one of those libertarian dudes who saved up like $20,000 and that's your lifetime savings, and you're like, oh, I bet if I give it to one of the most corrupt people in the world, but I'm sure it's just him. But the other guys in crypto are not at all corrupt. I'll just trust them without any protection at all. All right, look, we try to warn you. We try to warn you 1,000 times. Go for it, see how it turns out. And then finally he said, oh, it looks like people wired $8 billion to Alameda, and oh God, we basically forgot about the stub account that corresponded to that, and so it was never delivered to FTX. He's saying, we forgot to check the $8 billion people sent to Alameda thinking it was going to go as an investment of theirs to FTX. We never even put it into FTX. We never even bothered to check. $8 billion. And he says it so casually, like, oh yeah, we forgot to transfer the $8 billion, as if he's talking about $8. Because he doesn't care about you. All of those crypto guys look at their investors as the biggest suckers in the world that just came to get robbed. They're like, oh, look at this, we set up a shop to do a robbery, and all these people showed up and said, here, please rob me, please rob me. There's no laws, no rules, no protections, no regulations, please rob me. Okay, well, you asked for it and he robbed you. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.